Hey, it's Doug Draper with Acme Distribution and the Denver Transportation Club, and I'm pleased to present our series, Supply Chain and Logistics, the Storytellers. The series is brought to you by CAP Logistics. CAP is experts. They're experts in offering you customized transportation solutions for all of your needs. So please visit caplogistics.com today. So today's storyteller, I'm excited to have her back, Julie Lockwood with IBM. Julie, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, of course, Doug.
That's
Hello.
great. Yeah, so we're going to talk a little bit about blockchain and the supply chain and how it interacts. And Julie's with the IBM Global Business Services, and she leads the integration services team that supports blockchain and their different engagements across that spectrum. So that's terrific. And IBM have been great supporters in the local supply chain community as well, so I want to thank you for that.
Of course.
I know that you've been involved with the Operation Stimulus, which is the student-led logistics conference in February, so thanks for that.
Yep.
And you've been advocates for CSCMP and different speaking engagements at UC Denver and up at UC Boulder. So thank you, IBM. Thanks, Julie. Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Very important work.
Yeah. So you're one of our first storytellers, but we like to still learn a little bit about our guests. So tell us a bit about yourself and refresh our audience, if you don't mind.
Yeah. So last time we talked about IBM Food Trust, which is a food-based transparency blockchain. And today we're going to go into, I'll call it Class 201. We're going to talk about TradeLens, which is a partnership between IBM and Maersk to develop a blockchain-based solution. And my background is I've been in supply chain for 20 plus years. I'm a graduate of the Ohio State University and worked for Abbott Laboratories in Ohio, and then moved on to IBM, where I have personal knowledge of the import and export process through customs management, and worked all over the supply chain, and now am more into the technology space.
That's great. And I'm excited about today's show because we're going to put some teeth around it, right? Because you talk about blockchain and it's kind of in the cloud and kind of get it, not really sure. So this is awesome that we're going to talk about real world examples. So I'm glad you were able to come back with us. So to refresh the topic, just give us a 10,000-foot view of what blockchain is as it relates to the supply chain.
Yeah, so blockchain is a technology. It allows for shared permissioned record of ownership, so it's really great at tracking assets. One of the central features of blockchain is authentication, so being able to authenticate an ecosystem of players that are working together to exchange information.
Okay. Good. And when you say ecosystem, I know that's kind of a cool term. We spoke about that before.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that? Is that just the different players, or elaborate on that
term?
Yeah,
so ecosystem can be partners, it can be third parties, it can be partners up and down the supply chain, it can be clients, it can be customers, or even manufacturing and suppliers. You can insert anyone into that space that has the need to communicate.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
That's great. So on the blockchain, how does it help the supply chain today, right? So let's kind of jump right into the meat of it. I know that was one of the topics.
Well, as you know, supply chain is primarily run off paper. Emails, EDI would be a step up in the supply chain space. But EDI, even in itself, has been around since the 80s. We haven't seen a huge amount of innovation in the supply chain arena, mostly because it works good as it is. But there's a lot of opportunities for improvements. I mean, you think about how ripe it is for innovation, especially in the customs clearance arena. There's not standardized codes or processes for a lot of the activities. There's almost all paper stacks of information. So anything that it can improve on that legacy type of information management will reduce cost and improve efficiencies.
Yeah. I think a lot of folks out there, when we use the term with integrator, right, they see, say, FedEx or UPS trucks, and they say, oh, it's one company that's picking up at my office, and then it's FedEx that delivers to the end result. But in the international supply chain, there could be 5 or 6 people. There could be a company in China that only picks up freight from inland China and takes it to the port, and they're done.
Right.
And then there's a group that takes it to the port and loads it. And then there's the steamship line that travels it. And so I think you kind of understand there's little compartments. And so to have that visibility with 6, 7, 8 different people touching it, the common thread for years is paper. Right, shuffling paper and document flow and everything else. So completely understand.
And today we're talking mostly about ocean shipping. So part of this partnership is with Maersk, and Maersk is the largest ocean operator within the world. And in the ocean shipping process, you can think of it sort of like getting ready for your flight at Denver International Airport. The airport doesn't really know you're on your way until you're really there, right? And it's the same with building containers on a ship. The ship is trying to figure out the whole bill of lading or the whole scope of the ship and build the ship. And if they don't know what's on its way or coming, it increases the cost, increases time, communications. IBM did a study and they looked at some ocean shipping from Africa to the Netherlands, and they said that there was over 200 information flows associated with just building one ship. So if we are able to cut down on the amount of information that's flowing and get real efficient communication, it's going to reduce the cost and be better for each one of the ecosystem players.
Yeah, that's great. So we're all about examples with the storytellers. You know, we try to bring it full circle. I'm not that smart of a host, so I'm always good with examples. Can you talk about an example of how IBM's using blockchain right now?
Yeah, so one of the general tenets of the TradeLens solution is that it allows real-time uploads. So it offers a standardized upload of 121 industry standard event types. So when those uploads are made, they can be done through an API, which is an automated interface.
Right.
And let's just take the example of version control of documents. So if you have a document and the document has been edited or changed, and you're back to those stacks of paper, nobody knows that document has been changed. So with blockchain, you're able to record the version control and immediately through the TradeLens application send out this is the latest version, so that all players within the end-to-end shipping process are working off that version.
Gotcha. So we've used the term TradeLens a couple of times here. Maybe take a step back, because you and I have been having some dialogue before.
Okay.
Take a step back and explain what TradeLens is so people can understand. Is that part of IBM? Is it a different group? So I should have done that out of the gate, so I apologize. But
so TradeLens is the name of this partnership between IBM and Maersk. So IBM brought the technology. Maersk bought the knowledge and know-how of the ocean shipping process from end to end. Neither have the desire to be in the other space. So they said, let's get together and develop one of the best-in-class supply chain industry consortiums. So an industry consortium blockchain is where anyone in the industry can participate and benefit from this world-class technology solution.
Gotcha. Okay, so they're kind of the technology link of all these different potential players.
Yeah, and I don't know if you know, but it's really expensive to build your own blockchain. So in this scenario with TradeLens, shippers and 3PLs, other inland providers, even the ocean providers can participate through a subscription basis and pay per container. It's actually a really good price entry point at $25 per container to start to participate in the program. So it allows the industry to be elevated and to use technology in a way that's not going to burden each individual company with the development of a large, expensive blockchain solution.
Right. No, I'm glad that you mentioned that, because you hear Maersk, the world's largest steamship line, IBM, Fortune 50 type of company. So our audience may think, all right, well, I'm not involved in those level of transactions, but yet I still want to participate. It sounds like a smaller individual, maybe even just one person that's importing shoes or apparel can still engage. That's what you're saying?
Yeah, as a shipper, you participate in the TradeLens solution as a pay-as-you-go. So you pay per container. And not only with the version control and the real-time uploads and the document tracking, you can have access to the self-service on demand, use what you need.
Got it.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So let's talk about some of the features that TradeLens has. Maybe we could break down kind of the flow of the goods and what the TradeLens provides the user, if we could go that direction.
Yeah, so let's see. Just to talk a little bit about the platform. So it's a supply chain based platform that's the foundation where the 3PLs and the other logistics parties are connected into. And then the technology is based on APIs, blockchain, and permission-based control, all based on the IBM cloud. And then there's this document sharing feature, which we talked about through the version control. It allows what they call in the blockchain world as immutability, which means that it cannot be changed. So you can have a certified account that these are the correct documents that go with this shipping container. And that's a big thing in the industry, just keeping control of all those documents in electronic format and allowing anyone to download them as needed. So if you're a broker, you can go onto the application and with the shipper's permission download the documents instead of chasing them around from the manufacturing plant or from the exporter or some other place in the world.
Right.
Yeah.
So what happens if I'm importing and my commercial invoice, I'm just using very simple examples, says I have 100 widgets and it's worth $1,000, and I go into view the flow of that document, and all of a sudden halfway through the process I'm like, wait, this says 90 shoes and 900. It's wrong. It's changed.
Yeah.
Tell me how the blockchain helps me understand where it changed and what happens, and what can I do about, like, hey, this is wrong.
Right.
If you import this now and clear customs,
it's going to be incorrect.
This can be incorrect, and it's going to be problematic, or I'm liable of some. So talk about like what happens in that scenario.
Yeah. So there's this whole thing in the industry of movement from more of a point-to-point communication to event-driven management. And TradeLens allows you to do event-driven management. So the event will either be flagged prior to that because there's a mismatch in the physical versus the financial flow of documents, or it can be flagged as an error and routed back to the originator of that document. So whether that's a third-party manufacturer or in-house manufacturing location, you can set up error management within the tool.
Okay, so I noticed that there's a problem, there's an error message, and then it goes back to the next or the previous
reverse flow of that document.
Gotcha. And then I can get visibility to watch it to make sure it gets corrected, and then watch it move forward.
Right. You can manage that error all within the application.
Gotcha. And anybody else in that process can see it as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So one of the main tenets of this solution is the increased visibility and security, because now only certain authorized users can change that document.
Oh, okay.
So it can't just be anyone. It needs to be someone authorized on that access control list to change it.
Okay. So I could potentially have visibility but no control.
Right.
Or I can have both.
Right.
Gotcha. Okay.
Exactly.
Very interesting. So talk about some the challenges that maybe the blockchain technology has come up with. We talked about some cool stuff with visibility and event management. Like, what are some other things that may be problematic or that the technology is trying to overcome still?
Well, so it's interesting. This is a partnership between Maersk and IBM. And I've talked to many clients about this. And most people kind of look around and say, why would Maersk or IBM create this for the industry, right? Isn't Maersk trying to beat out APL and beat out other players within the industry?
Yeah.
And Maersk is very clear that they want to continue to be in the innovative space. They don't want to be a technology provider, so they've partnered with IBM. But they want to elevate the industry. They handle a large percent of the ocean shipping, so they feel confident in their position as a ocean vessel operator, and believe that it will only help the entire industry by building this type of solution.
That's great. So a rising tide does literally raise all ships, right?
Yeah, right. That's good.
That's terrific. Do you know how has the industry perceived that a little bit? Are other folks like, hey, I'm a little nervous because is Maersk trying to
see my
set me
data
up, or I get what they're doing. I don't want them to see mine. What type of feedback are you hearing out there?
Yeah, definitely. Where surprisingly where we've seen the biggest traction with this are the port operators, because as you can imagine, so international trade has ballooned over the last decades. The ports are still working with the same space that they've always had, right? Like you think of an easy one that we can conceptualize, which is like the port of Los Angeles. They're working with the same space they've always had. Los Angeles has grown up around them. More ships are coming in every single day, and they don't have the space. So what is their primary mission? Is to move the containers quickly. And so we've seen the biggest adoption, which maybe was a little bit surprising with the port operators, because we thought it would be such a big benefit for the shippers and such a big benefit for some of the logistics providers, but the port operators are saying, hey, what about me? I want this product to move quickly, so let me help you figure out how to adopt something that's going to allow these assets to be better utilized.
Gotcha. And so they basically know what's coming to them before it gets there, and that's what you're saying. They can move it, physically move it through their facility.
They can physically move it through their port faster.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So that's a great example of the port. Let's talk about maybe some of the other logistics providers. You got other asset folks like the integrators, like the FedEx, UPS, other steamship lines. Then you got the forwarders and the NVOCCs. Like, what are some of the other providers? What's their feedback, and how are they accepting this?
Yeah, so the really neat thing about TradeLens is that the other party providers up and down the supply chain are able to participate for no charge on the TradeLens solution. So they're able to join this consortium and participate without putting out any dollars to do that. There are some required publications that they need to make, so they need to submit a certain amount of data, because it allows the clients to be more secure in having all their parties on the network. So it's truly meant to build a industry solution where others feel comfortable playing together in that ecosystem environment that we talked about.
Yeah.
And it's a new, somewhat of a new concept. It's a co-opetition mindset where we're not necessarily competing directly one-on-one, but we're participating together to cooperate.
Yeah. And that's a tough in a business community where everybody needs to manage margins and profitability. That's an interesting perspective, right? To say that we're kind of competitors, but we're not. We both need this to grow our businesses. So overall, do you think it's been adopted pretty well, or do you still think there's a long way to go? What type of feedback are you getting in that?
Yeah, so IBM has Maersk and APL both on the TradeLens solution, if that tells you something. There's also, I looked at the numbers, but I don't have them memorized, but maybe 6 or 7 others, ocean providers on this solution. And you can check out all of them on TradeLens.com. There's 8 or 9 3PLs, and then the ports and the customs clearance, we have probably more than a dozen of each of those on this solution already.
Wow.
So now we're talking to shippers and having shippers added to the solution, and that's the $25 per container fee. And there's also a really neat part of TradeLens that does shipment invoicing. So you can put all of your shipment invoices and attach it to a smart contract, which is part of the blockchain portion. And you can do calculation of added fees and charges and review your shipment invoices, which is a big plus to shippers. So shippers spend a lot of money reconciling the shipping invoices each month, day, and year.
Right.
And so they can use TradeLens. We've estimated that shippers can save between 5 and 10% on their shipping invoices just by auditing them against a smart contract.
And that's part of what TradeLens brings to the
Yeah,
table.
that's another feature that's specifically geared towards the shippers community. So the P&Gs, the Nikes, the players that handle a lot of shipping invoices.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you think there's been maybe tipping point would be the right word. So you're saying that, hey, if you build it, they will come, right? So we're getting some buy-in with the steamship lines and the ports and the assets. Those are the people managing and providing the services. So now we need everybody else to come to the party.
Right.
Right, like you made mention of Nike and some other ones like that. How are they becoming aware of this technology? And when do you think it would be like a storm of like, oh my gosh, everybody's engaged and this really has some strong traction now?
Oh boy,
it's a couple questions I just asked you, so I apologize.
So the way that people are becoming aware is by Maersk and IBM jointly marketing this. I mentioned the website TradeLens.com. You can read about, there's a blog talking about the benefits of this, but also other happenings within the industry. There's also demos of the solution, and really it becomes a market and talk to our clients and customers about this exciting opportunity to be a part of innovation in the supply chain space.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about women in supply chain and blockchain. That's a topic we like to thread through some of our episodes here. So maybe you could talk a little bit about IBM's presence with women in the blockchain and this new technology.
Right. So as a woman in technology and supply chain, I'm very promoting of that aspect. But IBM, so a lot of people, I still get asked the question of if blockchain is really here to stay, and I think the answer is, and I'll tell you why. Because IBM has now 1,600 jobs with the title blockchain. So of those jobs were led by a woman vice president, and if you go down the ranks, a large percentage of the practitioners in blockchain are women within IBM. So it's been a really exciting space to see that happen and that kind of transformation take place in IBM. You probably know the technology industry is often criticized for having a lack of women. So my only explanation is that blockchain is truly a holistic technology, and I think that maybe automatically kind of attracts women, or maybe we finally hit the point where we've attracted enough women in the supply chain plus blockchain industry. I don't know.
That's cool. 1,600 jobs.
1,600 jobs within IBM with the title blockchain.
That's nice.
Yeah.
That's real impressive. So I know we just have a couple of minutes here left, but what would be your advice to kind of the supply chain professionals listening, right? Okay, I heard all this stuff and I kind of get a better grasp of what's going on. We have service providers that are laying out this amazing platform, getting some traction with users, the IBMs and the Nikes of the world. Like what some advice or thoughts would you give to the professionals listening?
Well, I think don't ignore technology, especially blockchain. And I think the biggest lesson I've learned on seeing how IBM set this up is they're really setting it up in a customer-centric way where customers can access the latest and greatest technology in a software as a service model where you just pay for what you need. So the technology can be accessible whether you're a small guy or a large guy. And I think that's definitely a really good way to go. I mean, not everyone can go build their own blockchain solution, or nor does it make sense. So having the business of blockchain accessible in a pay-as-you-go model and being able to test it out lowers the barrier of entry to anyone. Anyone that's shipping can become a part of this solution, and save cost and hopefully increase efficiency.
Yeah. No, I think that's key, because sometimes it's overwhelming with, like you said, I'm just a little guy. So if I am the little guy out there with a very important piece of business and I want to see how this could impact me, where would they go to learn more about it?
Yep. So the website is www.TradeLens. That's L-E-N-Z or L-E-N-S. I'm sorry, TradeLens, and you can learn all about it. There's contacts there, or they can reach out to me, Julie Lockwood, separately if they're more comfortable doing that.
Yeah, and they can reach out to the show and we can get them connected to you. So
and I mean, I'll add that it's important to keep up. If you think back to the days of EDI and other technologies that have blossomed in the supply chain space, it's important to keep up with that technology, because it sort of becomes a layer where you keep adding on top of it, right? So being able to access something like blockchain opens up the door to add the Internet of Things, so communication with the physical flow of goods, however that looks for you as a shipper.
Right.
And then being able to add analytics, being able to add artificial intelligence and other things on top of it really require that you have a base level, and it's not EDI anymore.
Yeah, it's not a standalone island.
Right.
They all interconnect.
Yeah.
So that's terrific. Well, I can't thank you enough and IBM for kind of sharing with us the cool technologies that are coming out there. Blockchain is certainly here to stay. I'm a true believer in it. So again, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Doug.
And I'd like to thank the audience for joining us today on the Connect and Collaborate Network, featuring supply chain and logistics. The Storytellers, of course, brought to you by Cap Logistics. Thanks again.